Hello, everybody, and welcome to this masterclass. Skynet for Community is a brand new platform that we've launched, a powerful tool for research, due diligence, on-chain and off-chain analytics. And as this is a masterclass, we've brought on the master, Kayvon, to walk us through the project and give you an idea of how you can leverage this powerful new tool to conduct due diligence and research on Web3 projects. Kayvon, how are you?
Doing good. How are you, Jesse?
Doing very well. Excited for this launch. It's been a big project, working on it for a while, and I think it's a really great tool for everybody in Web3 to leverage. So yeah, let's learn how to do that. So if you want to share your screen, take us to skynet.certik.com, which is where everyone can find Skynet for Community. And this is the brand new dashboard that you'll see when you head over to that link. So some people may be familiar with the previous Skynet tool that still is on the security leaderboard at CertiK.com. How does the Skynet for Community differ? What are some of the biggest differences with this new project?
So what we realized, I think taking a step back, the motivation behind Skynet is we realized security and data on chain, especially within Web3, it's really inaccessible to most retail investors and community members. Even for us as CertiK, we started by uploading all of our projects audit reports to our website, CertiK.com, so that people have a clear understanding of security and access to these reports. But we wanted to take it one step further, and that was behind the motivation for launching Skynet. So Skynet itself is now a fully dedicated, unbiased security research and due diligence portal for Web3 investors. And as part of that, we wanted to have its own dedicated page instead of just being kind of an extension to the CertiK.com page. Of course, if you go on CertiK.com, you can still see a lot of the projects that we've audited and some of our clients and their security score. But then as soon as you click on a project, it'll redirect over to the Skynet platform, which is fully dedicated and has a lot of other cool features and stuff that we can walk through in a second.
Yeah, for sure. And I think one of the biggest differences that I noticed was the previous Skynet covered projects that had been audited by CertiK, but this one covers more than 10,000 projects, regardless of whether or not they've been audited by CertiK. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So we feature pretty much every single Web3 project. We go on CoinMarketCap, and on a daily basis, we're pulling all of the new projects. So try to be as up to date as possible and really expand coverage to every project that people want to do some research about.
Makes a lot of sense, and I feel like sometimes when investigating the security of a project matters most is when it hasn't been audited. So yeah, that's great that this tool has really been expanded. So this is the dashboard. So how do we get started? We can see here some featured projects, but yeah, where do you recommend kicking off your research?
So yeah, I think as soon as you land, you get onto this discovery page, and so this discovery page we intend for it to be very dynamic. So if you're a Skynet user, you can come on here every day, see what projects are trending in different categories. So just going from the top, we have different projects that are leading by security score, and what we're able to do is adjust that based off category, right? So if you're trying to find like DeFi projects, if you're trying to discover gaming projects, all of that, the ones that are trending by security score will be displayed up here. And as we work our way down, we have similar categorization. So here we have top projects by market and community. So that's kind of a specific metric aside from just the security aspect that we're measuring. We have additional information. So influencers is a big new addition to our Skynet platform. Not just Web3 projects, but we're also giving you some insight into different influencers, what their impact and reach and overall trust score from an influencer level is. You can also discover some smart money wallets and some top smart contracts. So, we built out a very expansive data backend when it comes to Skynet, and we're ingesting on-chain data from all different types of blockchains, analyzing that data, and then based off our analysis, we want to give our users some alpha, right? So, whether that's being able to track top smart money wallets by like transaction volume, by gas fees, see like what smart contracts are trending, really just trying to make all of this otherwise very complex on-chain research more accessible and more understandable for users so that they can have some level of discovery into like the latest and greatest. And then finally, we have some news and some social feed related information down here on the discovery page. So as I mentioned, this is very dynamic. Every day it's going to be changing. And, helping users curate and understand some new information on there.
That's really cool. It's with the news and the influencers and everything. It's really a comprehensive project. You can start here and then work your way through all the projects and find what interests you. So let's dive into the actual metrics themselves. We'll start with the security score. Let's head over to that tab. So what can you tell us about the security score? How is it calculated, and how did, for example, Bitcoin earn its top spot at the security leaderboard?
Yeah, so we've had a security score for quite some time on CertiK.com. Over the last 6 months or so, we've spent a lot of time redesigning that security score. So really trying to understand, from a general security perspective for any Web3 project, what are the most important aspects? So what we've done is we built out like a full methodology that considers both on-chain and off-chain factors related to security. And I'll open up one of the projects so we can talk a little more specific about what those different categories are. So anytime you click on a project's profile, you can see their security score here. But I think, security score as just a pure number is sometimes a little bit misleading or, not super easy to understand. So we've also included some additional context for users to understand, okay, this project is a 96.49. What does that mean? So one way that we've done that is we've added, sort of a Moody's style rating system. So projects start from AAA, and then they can go down to AA, single A, triple B, so on and so forth. So very similar to how the traditional asset world categorizes, different risk levels of different assets, but we're doing so for crypto, so people can kind of easily understand that framework and apply it here. In addition to that, we want to contextualize a score relative to other projects. So, pure number is one thing, but then you also understand how does this stack up related to the other 10,000 projects or so that we have listed in our security leaderboard. And so that's where we have the percentile and the rank, right? So you can know, is this project in the top 5%, top 10%, top 20%, so on and so forth. So
I like the comparison with the Moody's ranking system there, and obviously security in Web3 is a multifaceted index, and we've got 6 different factors that play into the security score. So fundamental health, community trust, market stability, governance strength, operational resilience, and code security. I think code security is probably pretty clear to people. That's the smart contract code that powers the platform. What is operational resilience?
Yeah, so operational resilience looks at like the non-technical factors of the project. So it'll look at, has this project had a past security incident in the last few months? That's a big factor that goes into there. How resilient have they been operationally from that front? We also look at a couple of different factors. So trying to understand, from like a pure age perspective, how long has the project been in place, how, and I think by extension, whenever a project is a little bit older, it can have a little bit more resilience and a little bit more confidence in that factor. I think those are some of the main factors. Other aspects of it would be like a centralized exchange listing. So a lot of times whenever a project is listed on a centralized exchange, it has to give a certain level of its known supply over to that centralized exchange. And that can be like a key consideration for security, because the project supply is on an exchange, it kind of inherits that exchange's security, but at the same time, it gives a level of assurance if a project is listed on a legitimate centralized exchange, for example, because that also means that the exchange did some due diligence and, there's some additional kind of metrics of security that come about with the exchange listing. So it's really those 3, right? Security incident, project maturity, and centralized exchange listing.
Makes a lot of sense. And governance strength, I'm assuming, relates to the DAO and its functioning and how it controls the project?
Yeah, directionally, that's correct. So specifically what we look at for governance strength is the holder distribution. Taking a step back, the security score, pretty much all the metrics on the security score are fully automated, right? And the reason why we do that is because 1, we want to monitor everything in real time and display if there's any sudden changes that can reflect in the score. But then 2, it also helps us, scale the score and make it unbiased, right? So if we have everything kind of fully automated, there's less of a human error bias in place there. So going back to your question about governance strength, what we look at is the token holder distribution. So sometimes people call this token economics, but what we'll do is look on chain and analyze the distribution holdings. So, is a vast majority of the token held by whale wallets, or, what percentage of that is distributed among more community wallets? And then most tokens have a role within the governance process. So the more distributed your token is, the better insight we have into the strength of your governance and the overall ability of that. We also look at private key movement. So, if the project team has any sort of centralized control over the protocol and they're invoking certain functions from their private keys, we can detect that as well and kind of note that. That's more in the market stability section under token activity, but I guess it tangentially relates to governance.
So contract upgrades, whether the team has the power to do that, that plays into that metric.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, got it. Okay, so market stability, is that solely price focused, or how is that determined?
Yeah, that's determined by three things. So the first one is market cap. So we try to see whether we can have a verified market cap. Sometimes projects have like unverified market caps on CoinGecko or CoinMarketCap. But trying to verify that, I think that gives some level of assurance if you're able to verify the market cap and that it's not changing and whatnot. And we'll also look at on-chain decentralized exchange pairs to try to verify certain aspects of that. We also look at trading volume, so verifying the trading volume on reputable platforms and using on-chain data. So the reason why that's important from a security perspective is the more active a project is, the more trading volume it has, the more liquid it is, the directionally safer it is, and not being able to be manipulated through price manipulation and whatnot.
Right, you want to see those signs of life.
Exactly, yeah. And then finally, we look on-chain and we measure token activity for market stability, right? So looking at the number of valid on-chain transactions, unique number of wallets, and as I mentioned before, any sort of privileged functions that are invoked by the admin keys. Those are all sort of calculated, factored, and then weighted into an overall score for the market stability.
Awesome. And that takes us to community trust. How do you measure something as which can be a bit tricky to measure, I imagine, community trust? How do you quantify that?
Yeah, so that one is a little bit more advanced. So we use technology known as NLP, natural language processing. And basically what our system does is it ingests tons of social data from platforms such as Twitter. And then it analyzes that data and it tries to gauge, what the overall sentiment is from the community discourse related to a certain project. And that spits out kind of a net score. So that's what our social analysis module is doing. And, we try to have it be comprehensive. So at the moment, it's most focused on Twitter, but looking to expand that to Discord and Telegram as well. Just to understand, what is the community's level of trust and sentiment towards that project. And if there's any sort of spike in negative sentiment, usually that's an indication of potential vulnerability, whether that's, code related or not. I think directionally it gives some insight into security there.
Right. Yeah, that could be a leading indicator or a lagging indicator, but good to know exactly what the community is thinking. And fundamental health, what is that?
Yeah, so fundamental health is it's basically two core categories. The first one is the quality assessment. So that is one of the only variables that is a little more subjective. So what we do is we have a team of research analysts who focus specifically on Web3 projects. And they'll dive into the project and analyze the project's, product, documentation, roadmap. It'll see, one, is this information available, right? So how transparent is the project? And then two, what is the quality of the documentation that they have in place? Is it very professional relative to other projects? Does it have, kind of highly technical information, or is it a little bit high level? Is it forged, low quality, all that stuff? So we try to distinguish from a quality perspective what the project's overall fundamentals and transparency are. And then the second bucket is the team itself, right? So we try to see, is the team anonymous or are they publicly available? And then to take that one step further, we also check for KYC verification. So, if a project has a team, it may not be fully secure if that team is transparent, but if that team has been vetted, gone through a very reputable background check, such as the CertiK KYC service, that gives kind of a level of assurance and a deeper level of trust in that score category. So yeah, really, really kind of those two buckets, quality and team identity.
Got it. So that's a little bit more of a qualitative measure, just the general sort of structure and health of the project overall, combined with these very quantitative on-chain driven metrics. A whole lot of data is coming in and being aggregated into this score, as you said. It's really good to see. Like, yeah, these 6 different categories, I think, give a really comprehensive picture of a project's security, and then distilled into that security score, which at a glance, you can look at 96.49. That's a pretty good score, which is good to see. PancakeSwap, one of the biggest decentralized exchanges, scoring very highly. That's great. Awesome. So if we scroll down, are these tabs, the code, audit history, price analysis, are these directly correlated to these 6 categories, or are they something a little different?
Yeah, so they are tangentially related. So projects that have Skynet for Business. So there's kind of 2 aspects to Skynet. There's the community platform, which we're on right now, and then projects also have the ability to activate Skynet more at the business level. And so what that does is when projects activate Skynet, it offers them real-time security monitoring by our 24/7 monitoring system, so they can get kind of alerts and backend information. But then 2, it shows an additional layer of depth in terms of like all the data insights. So a lot of the data that you do see on these tabs is feeding into the overall security score into different variables. And I can just kind of run down the list. So the first one is the code audit history. It's pretty similar as before, where you can review the project's audit coverage. You can see the audit results, and you can kind of dive into more detail to see, what took place. And this is only the case if the project's been audited by CertiK. As you mentioned, there are non-CertiK audited projects, and those won't have any of this available either. Moving down a little bit more, we have price analysis. So this is a pretty advanced version of TradingView embedded with some unique CertiK data. So for example, you're able to chart things such as unique token transfers, number of unique active users, security score, overlay that with price, and then analyze, how does that change over time, any of those kind of adjustments.
Yeah, that's really powerful. Actually, let's overlay that security score onto the PancakeSwap chart just to take a look at it. So, okay, you can see it's been on an uptrend, which you might take that into consideration when deciding whether to trade on PancakeSwap or get involved with investing in the token. If the security score has been on an uptrend, that means the project is doing good work to secure its platform. So a sign of trust there. And as you said, so this is one of the more fully featured dashboards you'll find, as PancakeSwap has been audited by CertiK. Other projects that have not been audited by CertiK, obviously the data will not be quite as comprehensive. It'll take what it can and arrive at the same score. But here you get all the features, all the information, all the data, which really helps you make an informed decision when you're choosing whether or not to get involved with the project. So people can head down social analysis, volatility, and liquidity, just these different dashboards. So we've got a pretty neutral sentiment, which makes sense with the way the market's going. And that word cloud, is that related to the natural, the social keywords, the natural language processing that you mentioned, and just analyzing the overall sentiment?
Yeah, correct. So you can see there's two different keyword aspects. On the left side, you can see all the different keywords that are related to the project. So when people are talking about PancakeSwap, what else are they talking about, right? Like airdrops, NFTs, Binance, right? Like that all kind of makes sense. Sometimes you'll be able to see like projects related to another project. So for example, here with PancakeSwap, we have this Quack that's also being mentioned with it, right? And then we have another project with a cash tag Mazi. So that gives users some insight into like, if I'm a fan of PancakeSwap, maybe I should check out these other protocols that are being somewhat discussed in tandem with it. And you can see like some community members have some interest in those as well. And then on the right side, you can see sort of the magnitude of what's being discussed, right? So the larger words are the words that are being more frequently picked up by the NLP system, whereas the smaller words are also being often discussed when it comes to PancakeSwap, but they're a little bit less frequent.
That's a really great way to get an idea of the sentiment of a project at a glance like that. And then you've got the map there on the left. And yeah, I mean, discovering new projects, like, as you said, more than 10,000 Web3 projects. So it's hard to get a handle on where everything fits in with one another. But this is a great way to actually visualize that, see who's talking about what, who's interested in which projects. And then down, it looks like we've got some news and tweets about PancakeSwap and related projects.
Yeah, you can see the related influencers. And this is helpful because, I think it gives a level of transparency so you can understand which influencers are connected to which projects. We actually have the reverse of that as well that we can get into shortly once we get to the influencer leaderboard, see which, in which projects, what influencers kind of talk about most frequently. Some good insight, I think, for our users to understand that level of connection.
For sure. Market volatility and liquidity. I'm sure everyone's pretty familiar with volatility in crypto, but this gives you a good way to visualize what's going on. That RVI, the relative volatility index, is it?
Yeah, so what we have here is the price volatility and then the relative volatility index. So for those who are maybe a little bit more advanced who understand finance and trading and whatnot, the relative volatility index might make a little bit more sense to them. So what that does is it measures the direction of volatility from a scale of 0 to 100. Projects who have over 50 score are a little bit more volatile to the upside, and then below 50, a little bit more volatile to the downside. So here we see PancakeSwap is right at a 46, so really kind of middle of the pack, not necessarily kind of biased towards the upside or the downside.
Pretty neutral there. And then you've got top DEX pairs, a really good one if you're trying to figure out where you're going to swap your tokens, where you can find the most liquidity and have the least market impact, avoiding slippage and that sort of thing.
Yeah, correct. So yeah, I think decentralized exchanges are very popular. So in addition to centralized exchanges, we also have some decentralized exchange volume there, and users can find some info. Yeah.
Awesome. And if we head down to on-chain monitoring, what do we see there?
Yeah, we'll head down here. So yeah, when it comes to on-chain monitoring, what we can see, so we have the ability to swap between different contracts, right? So here we have PancakeSwap's cake contract, and then you can look at PancakeSwap's syrup contract as well, right? So different analytics depending on which contract you choose. From there, we can see on-chain, all of the price metrics, trading volume. We can see their total number of token holders. And then over here on the right, you can see a visualization of the token holders. So in net, have there been an increase or decrease in token holders, and then what is the accumulation of token holders over time. A lot of other metrics like daily active users, which are interesting. You can see whether a project's picking up traction or not, especially for like a DeFi or gaming-based projects. It's good to have that level of user insights. There's also transaction activity and token transactions that are taking place. Again, these are like otherwise pretty difficult. They're inaccessible data visualization metrics, but on Skynet, you're able to access them all for free and like really easy to understand, navigate. You can change the time window. You can change kind of the focus of the project, all of that.
That's really some rich data there. And the great thing about blockchain and Web3 is a lot of this data is available on chain, but you'd have to be combing through Etherscan or BSC scan to really like figure out, the number of daily active users or something like that. So having this one dashboard that aggregates it all into one place, and you can change between 24 hours, 7 days, longer periods. That's a really powerful feature. And I think that's great to give people the ability to understand that information without having to do hours and hours of data analytics themselves.
Yeah, definitely. I think for Skynet, it's really a combination of security and that data insight. So I'm really trying to give both to our users.
Governance and autonomy, talking a little bit about what you said before with the distribution of who holds what amount of tokens. So quite a few whales here, looks like. Is that correct? We've got a lot of people holding over $10 million worth of the cake token.
Exactly. Yeah, you can see here that about 96.81% of the supply, is held by wallets that have over $10 million of the asset within their holding. So really, really quite a bit of concentration. One thing that I would mention about this is, sometimes it's not just the pure distribution that's important. So, here we can see what the different wallets are, but then you can also analyze things such as like the health or the average number of years that the wallets have held the token projects, right? So, here in PancakeSwap, a lot of projects for the large whale wallets have been holding for 2 to 3 years, right? So even though it's a large holding, the fact that they've been holding for so long is probably a little bit more of a reassuring sign. Or it could also mean that, those wallets are meant for a specific purpose. So perhaps like those are team wallets, or perhaps those are staking wallets, right? So not just enough to look at like the data itself, but then directionally understand what does the data mean, and then what other insights can I pull from that data is really how we encourage users to use this platform.
For sure, yeah, we're giving users the power, the data that they need to make decisions, and not forcing any decisions on you. But obviously, you can see here, you can make the decision whether whales holding for a long time is something you're comfortable with or not. So it looks like we've gone through the whole security score dashboard, and we've got a couple more to explore. So over on the left, what's the next dashboard? We have the verified teams, which is a good one.
Verified teams, yeah. And before I hop into there, I just wanted to touch on one more question that users might have. So right now, with the new platform, we've solely focused on security score. So if some users may know our site from before, we had this, what was known as a trust score. That was a combination of the security score plus what we call the marketing community score. And, overall, what we realized is trust is not necessarily, it could be like a very over-encompassing term. So what we did is we kind of narrowed it down and purely focused on general Web3 security. So that's where you might, some users might have that question between trust and security score. We're fully focused on security score at this point. So I just want to make sure that
it's a good clarification. Makes a lot of sense, and I think trust comes from security. So knowing the security of a project is step one.
Totally.
So KYC, we have a pretty comprehensive KYC process. We have a good number of articles up on our resources page which detail how we do KYC and how comprehensive that is, and why it's important for Web3 teams to take on KYC. A lot of people are familiar with having to do individual KYC in order to use a service, a centralized exchange. But I think having project teams verify themselves and stand behind their projects publicly is a really powerful tool for building the trust in the ecosystem that we need. So here we've got a ranking of KYC verified teams. Is that correct?
Yeah, correct. So, as you mentioned, these are all teams that have gone through CertiK's KYC process, which is the most rigorous and prestigious process within the Web3 ecosystem. So these are teams that we vetted, we fully have verified their identities. And at the same time, they've taken additional measures to create some accountability for themselves. So the first thing that users might notice here is in the KYC column, there's, this badge. And so what that represents is the KYC badge tiers that we've set up. So if we go on Shentu chain and we hover over the KYC badge, you can see that these badges, they say like what level of verification they are. So we have 3 tiers. We have gold, silver, and bronze. Gold is our highest level of verification. So that means that the project not only passed our KYC check, but, based off all of the different risk factors that we evaluated, which at this point we're evaluating almost 100 different risk factors on the team. We've measured that they're extremely low risk, right? So that's what the gold verification kind of indicates. Silver, indicates kind of an in-between, and then bronze means, there were some risk factors picked up, or the project's age might be a little bit old, too new. So, there's not enough to verify in that case. So, that level of differentiation, I think, is very important for our users to understand.
Yeah, I think it's good to have some nuance there. It's not just a pass-fail thing. A team can be happy to verify their identity, but then there are a couple of concerns raised, and it's just good to give users the knowledge that they've been investigated and to get an idea of the level to which they've been verified. So as it looks like on the verified teams leaderboard, we've got all the gold projects up the top. I imagine if we scroll down, we'll see silver and then bronze.
Yeah, correct. So, I think it's sorted based off their tier of KYC badge, and then tangentially their security score as well. So obviously KYC is one of the factors within the security score. So here you'll see the transition from the gold projects over to the silver projects. And again, just because a project is silver doesn't mean it's not trusted, but it's just a medium tier of that high level of trust within our rigorous process. And then here you can see the projects that transition over to bronze.
It's good to see so many projects with this verification. I think it's a really powerful signal to the community.
Totally, yeah. I think this really arose out of a need where we saw users turning to our audits as a guarantee for a project to not rug pull. And what we realized is an audit is a security assessment. Sometimes it's very difficult for us to guarantee a project's accountability and level of security. So there's not that much skin in the game just because you've been audited. But with the KYC, it's a team level verification. So what it implies is that a team has passed this rigorous background check, and at the same time they verified themselves. So if they were to rug pull or do something suspicious, we have their identity and we can hold them accountable. So that level of skin in the game, I think, is critical. And for users to be able to find these projects that have gone through this voluntary process and put in the effort to, show their trustworthiness, this is really a platform to showcase that and connect those two groups.
Yeah, I've worked pretty closely with some of the members on our KYC verification team, and they're ex-law enforcement, ex-intelligence. It's a really comprehensive process. 100 points, I think you mentioned, that are investigated, and we've got live video calls, and it's a really comprehensive process. I think there's no way to sort of fool our investigators. I know I wouldn't be able to. Awesome.
Yeah, definitely. And one more thing to touch on. So users, in addition to the leaderboard itself, they can see on the right-hand side a little bit more information about our KYC. So you can see projects that have recently completed their KYC. You can learn a little bit more about what CertiK KYC is about and how the process works. And then we also have our resources section here. So a lot of our KYC investigators are also writing insights blogs, and they're talking about their experience, their learnings, some thought research into the overall KYC ecosystem. We recently had a two-part series on KYC actor industry. So within Web3, there are a lot of actors that come and pretend to KYC on behalf of projects. And we've caught a couple of those. So, that level of insight and experience is something that users can also access on the KYC leaderboard.
For sure. I think it's great that we put out those sorts of articles, just raising awareness about things that I don't think a lot of people are necessarily aware of. I know I wasn't aware of the underground KYC actor industry until we published a piece on it. And it's something that we can only really pick up through this KYC process, which really, it does two things. It gives projects verification, and it picks up on people who are trying to get around that and raises awareness about that for the good of the entire industry. So really is one of our best products, I think. Cool. Let's head over to the influencer score. I think this is a good one. It's tricky to sort of determine who's a legitimate influencer, who might be a bit more of a grifter, which I think there are a few of in Web3. I don't think anyone would deny that. But here we've got an influencer score. So is that ranking influencers based on their legitimacy, on their track record? We've got a description right there.
Yeah. So you are right that it's a little difficult to, say with certainty, is this influencer legit or not? But what we can measure very directly is impact. So what this score represents is the level of influence that the influencer has, right? So do they have the ability to drive narrative? Do they get a ton of organic engagement? Do they make like a real impact when it comes to overall Web3 sentiment and community sentiment, right? So those are all very measurable things that we can analyze. And if you go into the profile itself, it breaks out what the overall score is a metric of. So it's really three things: engagement, content, and network. Analyzing all three of those areas in real time, and then aggregating that to create like an overall score. And how this differentiates, other influencer leaderboards is we're able to understand like the real-time impact of an influencer and stack that against each other, so that which influencers, are actually making movements, like actually legitimate, actually producing high quality content that gets real engagement. They don't have like a ton of bot followers. So, I think all those metrics really kind of distilling the noise and then aggregating their overall impact is quite important for a lot of different reasons.
For sure. And again, we've got that really handy ranking, the percentile as well, and the AAA here for Ryan Selkis. So top of the pack. Congrats to Ryan. And so if we scroll down, what else do we have on this dashboard here?
Yeah, so on the right-hand side, you can see their overall sentiment score. So this follows exactly what we said before, natural language processing. So, the overall social sentiment related to this influencer, is it growing increasingly positive or negative? I think Ryan himself has had some pretty controversial takes recently related to crypto regulation and law enforcement. So you can see those maybe have caused a little bit of a more negative sentiment to spike up than down. In addition, next to the profiles, we have some automated tags that you can learn about a user. So for example, you can see which projects, what that influencer is. So in Ryan's case, we can see that he's a founder. He has a high retweet rate. He's most active between the hours of 8 p.m. and midnight Pacific time. And he's also a prolific tweeter himself, has a lot of threads and kind of general information. And then on the right-hand side, so right now our influencer leaderboard is exclusively focused on Twitter. It's probably going to expand out to YouTube and a few other platforms in the future. So you can see just kind of at a glance, Twitter insights for them, right? So a little description of their Twitter bio, their number of followers, number of tweets, and like their overall Web3 social sentiment.
I think it's a good point you raised before that so maybe Ryan's negative social sentiment peaked a little bit, but that doesn't mean that that's not necessarily a bad sign. It's just a sign that he might be saying some controversial things, which I think are always welcome in crypto, especially when we're talking about regulation and those sorts of things. So just because someone's negative sentiment has spiked doesn't mean that they're causing trouble or doing something that should necessarily be viewed negatively. So it's good that this takes into account a whole lot of different metrics and arrives at that comprehensive score. So most connected influencers, is this a more general ranking, or is this okay? So this relates to Ryan himself. So the other influencers that he's closely connected to there.
Yeah, exactly. You can kind of see like, what influencers is Ryan typically connected to, talking about, engaging with, right? So all those different factors. And what you start to see is that, a lot of these influencers are all really connected to each other. And that's like the purpose of this feature, is to make that transparent and have people understand what the different relationships are. So for example, Ryan is often talking with Masari, which is also the company that he founded. So that makes a lot of sense. But at the same time, he's also a prolific Bitcoiner. So Balaji and Peter McCormick are also prolific Bitcoiners. And, you can kind of see where that level of relationship and engagement can give you some insights about that influencer and the way that they want to establish their social presence.
Yeah, I love these little graphics. I think one of the most powerful features of this Skynet for Community is just making this information really immediately accessible and visible. You're not digging through tons of tweets to find out what they're talking about. You've got a little logo right there, and it makes it really easy. So that's great to see. Top mention. Oh, this is a login only feature. So what can you tell us about? So yeah, obviously people can log into Skynet for Community. We've been doing the non-logged in version, but yeah, what does logging in and creating an account get you?
Yeah, so that's a good question. Let's just take a moment here, and we can go ahead and I will do a Google login with my CertiK account. So, we encourage all our users to set up a profile. So going over real quick to the profile itself. So what you can do as a login user, obviously you set up your login. You can subscribe to some community updates and product updates. You can establish a watch list, right? So you can select a couple of projects and that you want to, follow most closely, and then those projects will be on your watch list. And you can come here, see what the security posture is. So what I typically did during, will do during this upcoming bull run is take my entire portfolio. These obviously aren't coins that I'm holding right now, but just coins that I was curious about tracking their security. And then I can measure, all of my portfolio projects and their security posture in real time at a glance. And that's something that you can do if you're a free sign up user. So I encourage everyone to go do that.
Right. So this is a free product. This is just logging in helps you track and monitor over time. There's no subscription fee or anything like that.
Exactly. Yeah. Our objective is really to make this accessible and free to the community. So, at this point, there's nothing to charge. In addition to that, there are a lot of features that are unlocked by sign up users. So here, what we can see is the not top mentioned coins by an influencer that is a sign up feature user. So in this case, we can see Ryan has most mentioned Bitcoin, XRP, Filecoin, Huobi, BNB chain. So, understanding what assets are connected to that influencer is something that you get access to with that sign up feature.
For sure. And top trending post is this, Ryan's top tweets.
Yeah, so this, this looks at all of their trending tweets in real time. So, see like if they had any sort of hot take recently, that's something that, will appear here, and you can see what the community is engaging with for them. So really kind of curating that for the user to see.
Ryan has had some hot takes recently, it looks like, which is good to see. Awesome. So this is another great, a great way to visualize and map out, like those, the relationships between influencers, the projects that influencers are interested in. I think it's tough, diving through all these statistics and data on chain and on Twitter and everything can get draining and get all messed up in at least my head. But then this is a great visual way to really put it all together, understand who's related to who's investing in what, who's talking about what, and just really understand things on a deeper level, I think.
Definitely. Yeah, it's it's a combination of security, but then kind of general due diligence, and we really want to make that as accessible as possible to our users.
For sure. Raising the standard of security and transparency. That's our mission. So exchange audit, that's a big one. Let's talk about this.
Yeah, so, all the three categories that we just walked through, so those are all leaderboards. And so just to recap, we have the security leaderboard, we have the verified teams leaderboard, and we have the influencer leaderboard. Now what we're getting into is tools. So these tools are three different tools that we have available currently to our users that we think are very kind of, again, true to the mission of security and due diligence. The first one is our exchange audit tool. And to kind of contextualize this, so obviously after FTX, proof of reserves is like a big topic of discussion, and users are more than ever concerned about, how transparent an exchange is and like what assets that they're holding, and really understanding whether an exchange is solvent or liquid. So what we do with the exchange audit is we find all of the self-reported wallets by all of these exchanges. We plug into all of those, and then we monitor all those and visualize all that data in real time. So you can go in and see everything about a project or an exchange. You can see all the different assets that they're holding. You can see their change in asset volume on a daily basis, right? Do they have total net inflows or outflows? We can kind of dive in deeper to show some of those insights as well.
For sure, yeah. So their Binance has got nearly $19 billion of inflows in the last 24 hours. I think it is really important for users to have faith in their exchange, and faith comes from facts. You get on-chain proof, and you actually don't need to trust an institution. They get to prove their solvency, and this is a great way of doing that, and just letting users get insight into something that they otherwise wouldn't have. And this is one of the major strengths of Web3. I mean, you can track the largest exchange in the world. You can track their wallets. You can't do that with banks. You don't know where your money's going. You don't know as we saw with Silicon Valley Bank, you create panics and people rush to withdraw. But here, I think this is a powerful way to build trust. And I'd love to dive in more to see what data there is on Binance, for example.
Awesome. Yeah. So, what we can see here is their total assets kind of at a snapshot summary, and the total number of wallets that are being monitored. One thing we do have to factor is, a lot of these wallets are self-reported. So just because we're able to plug into them and show the data doesn't mean that we can 100% verify that this is actually an exchange's wallet. So do have to mention that as a little bit of a caveat for our users. But I think overall, directionally, this really does serve the purpose of, instilling a little bit more faith and transparency. So what we can do is come down to the portfolio analysis section, and this is a very simple allocation breakdown where you can see the different assets that they're holding. So, of the $73 billion in Binance's wallets, 16 billion of that is Tether, for example. 15 billion of that is Bitcoin, 8.3 billion of that is Ethereum. You got 6.9 billion in BNB, and then you can also see the corresponding portfolio percentage value next to that as well. And then, in addition to just the asset itself, you want to see like what chains are these assets on. So, surprisingly, Tron is about 25% of the assets held on Binance, which, is interesting for being such a smaller chain compared to BNB chain, which has only about 7.1 billion in this level of assets as well. So just some interesting insights, and I think cross chain is a big topic at this point. So that's another feature that we have within the exchange audit section itself.
For sure, those are interesting insights and sort of merits a bit more of a deeper dive, which is really the whole purpose of due diligence. You pick up on something interesting, you figure out why it's interesting, why it's happening, and you end up with more information about what's the exchange you're holding your assets on or not holding your assets on. So yeah, a lot of great little graphs here, and tokens held by exchange wallets. So okay, again, we've got a list of the major tokens by volume.
Yeah, and we can also see, their corresponding, have they been audited by us? Do they have a security score? All that information, the percentage ratio. So this is just kind of a different way of visualizing it, right? So if you want more of that numerical kind of table style breakdown, you're able to get that here. And I think the other aspect, aside from just the holdings, I think net flows is like a very interesting indicator, right? So, is there net inflow or net outflow? And you can kind of like measure that over time. And then also break out, specifically within categories, like is there net stablecoin inflow outflow, ETH inflow outflow, BTC inflow outflow, right? So, with this recent like Silicon Valley Bank incident, stablecoins were obviously like a big topic of discussion. So just understanding, what's being sent in and out of an exchange, I think is like an important factor to consider on there.
And here we've got the list of actual wallets that we track related to Binance.
Correct. Yeah. So these are all the specific wallets themselves, and then users are free to click view details, and this will open up into our Smart Money Wizard, which we'll get into here shortly to give a little bit more info about that.
Awesome. Yeah, I think this level of insight into centralized exchanges is really great. Obviously, decentralized exchanges are all on chain, and you have a lot more data available, but this gives you all the insights that you can really reasonably expect from on-chain monitoring of centralized exchanges, which a lot of data, a lot of information to help you make an informed decision. Yeah, really interesting stuff. So obviously, $11 billion of trading volume in the last 24 hours, down 10%. Just a lot of little data points that help you paint a clearer picture in your mind, I think. Smart Money Wizard. What's Smart Money Wizard going to tell us?
All right. So Smart Money Wizard, this is really a place for users to understand what the smart money is doing. And by smart money, we've defined that in a couple of different ways, right? So this is really the wallets that are doing the most transaction volume. They're the wallets that are doing the most number of transactions. They're consuming large amounts of gas fees. They have a high amount of assets, right? So different metrics that really kind of indicate to us these are wallets that are worth tracking and monitoring. And then in addition to that, what we can see is a deep level of insights once we open the wallets, right? So starting kind of from the top, what we have is general understanding of the wallet, right? So like their balance, number of transactions, total related wallets. So in this wallet, for example, it's like a Uniswap V2 contract, and we can see that there are 23,000 other wallets that are related to it. Moving down, we can see the token portfolio within that wallet, right? So how much wrapped Ethereum in this case that the wallet holds and what percentage breakdown that is. And our wallet relationship graph, I think, is one of the most interesting features, especially from a security perspective. So, what wallets is this wallet connected to? And in addition, what is the volume and the number of transactions that it's sent to these other wallets? So that gives users a nice way to kind of follow the money trail. If they're interested in following a particular wallet and they sent a large volume of money to another wallet, they can see that really easily, open that up in our wallet analyzer, and then kind of continue the hunt there.
Yeah, really powerful. I think, I've spent a lot of time diving through Etherscan to find exactly this kind of information, but this puts it in a really visual and easy to follow graphical format. So we can see that top wallet there has done 1339 transactions for a total of nearly 17 billion. So that might be one you want to check out, see what that is and why they're interacting with this wallet. Yeah, as you said, good way to follow the money trail. So what else can the Smart Money Wizard conjure up for us?
Yeah, so from a trading perspective, it can actually give a lot of insight, especially if the wallet is trading on on-chain decentralized exchanges. So you can see the transaction count, whether that's receiving or sending tokens, transaction count by day of the week, right? So, what is their transaction activity over time? And you can see their initial kind of incoming token distribution, right? So, when they're trading, what tokens are they trading? In this case, it's a Shiba Doge because the wallet itself is associated with Uniswap v2 Shiba Doge. So you can really see that. And then you can see the incoming versus outgoing transaction volume. So in both cases, wrapped Ethereum having kind of a bit of an edge over Shiba Doge. And then finally down here, you're able to see some of the recent token transfers. So if you really want to monitor a particular wallet and you can see like recently, in the last 24 hours, where has it been sending money to? How much money has it been sending to? So again, kind of like a much easier way of visualizing all the key information without having to really dig through like all of the Uniswap, difficulties and complexities of information to understand something about a wallet.
Awesome. Yeah, let's head back to that main Smart Money Wizard dashboard. So obviously we just looked at the Uniswap V2 wallet. We've also got some MEV bot wallets tracked, can filter by gas fee consumed. So you can see who's transacting the most. We've got $250,000 of gas in the last 24 hours. That's a very active wallet. And you might be interested in finding out why they're transacting so much. Top liquidity pairs, another good one to see what's trending. Trending in terms of transaction number, transaction volume, people putting their money where their mouth is. Awesome. Yeah. And you can paste in any wallet. You could paste in your own personal address to track that and see what insights you can gain from your own address as well.
Yeah, that's right. So we have a pretty extensive database of wallet addresses. At the moment, we don't have all wallet addresses. We're still in the process of adding more and more over time. There's quite a few addresses to go. So really starting with all of the smart money addresses, and that's kind of the purpose of this tool, is really focused on more of the smart money wallets. So if you see smart money wallet on the wild, it's likely going to be accessible within this database. And then, yeah, some of the user wallets should also be somewhat accessible. So being able to have that open search and discovery functionality is important for our users.
Got it. Yeah. So yeah, this depth of insights is available for the top smart wallets. Yeah, let's head over to Skynet alerts.
Mm-hmm. So, okay. Yeah, this is one of our, I think, coolest security features on here. So CertiK internally has built a very active alerting and monitoring system. So 24/7, the system is analyzing transactions on chains and then sending out alerts anytime it detects something significant, right? So whether that's an exploit, an exit scam, change in ownership for like transferring private key rights, all of that will be detected by the system. But in addition to that, we also have human analysts on the back end that review these alerts just to verify that they are 100% correct. We're trying to improve the accuracy of our system over time, but having that level of human analyst verification just adds another layer of assurance to that. And we visualize all of that for our users here. So, if you are interested in looking at the latest alerts on different chains, you can come here, you can click on the alert, and you can, find a little bit more information, right? So, what address is it associated with? What was the amount? What was the associated tag? So in this case, there was a large liquidity removal as an exit scam that happened March 30th on this timestamp on this block number. And then, this impacted the YPT token. You can see how much of the token was removed, and then you can see kind of all the associated information. So, for any of our users that want to go and do a little bit more investigation or really try to learn more about different project hacks and alerts and stuff, this is a nice little database for them to go in and access that information.
And to know that these are all verified alerts. You're not getting false positives or anything like that. These are actually verified by human analysts, so they are legitimate signals, which is really good. Tornado cash deposits, liquidity removals. These are all things people should be keeping an eye on. And ice fishing, that's a good one. We've got an article on ice fishing, actually, if anyone wants to learn more. Flash loan exploits. Okay, yeah, really a comprehensive list of alerts, all facets of Web3 security there. So is that that's everything? That's all the new features of the Skynet for Community. Yeah, we've also got the Skynet 101, which is where everyone can deep dive, learn how to use each of these features a little more. Some great blogs there. Awesome.
Yeah, and one final thing to touch on for our users. So, we have a very international following and user base, and so we're continuously trying to find ways to expand the language coverage. So at the moment, we have multi-language features on Skynet as well. So, whether that's in Korean or Chinese, and also in the future, likely going to expand that beyond those. So, just trying to make our platform as accessible to as many users as possible across the world. Really to give them that access. Yeah,
that's the mission here. Web3 is for everybody, and the more we can expand access to it and help people make informed decisions, that's great for the whole ecosystem. And I think overall Skynet for Community is such a powerful tool. I know I'll be using it, and yeah, really deep insights and a great launch pad as well. I mean, you get these Skynet alerts. You can dive deeper into what's going on. You can paste in addresses, track smart money wallets, make sure that a project team has been verified, get a glance at a project security with the security score, and dive deeper into what exactly makes that up. So really just about everything you could want here for a comprehensive due diligence process. I think this is a really powerful tool for everyone involved in Web3.
Definitely. Yeah, I think we encourage our users to go read our latest blogs as well. We published 2 blogs recently. One of them is an overview blog, so kind of just recaps everything that I said in succinct blog format. And then we also have security score blog. So if anyone's really interested in diving deep into the security score methodology, we lay that all out there, again, with the goal of really giving our users as much information as possible so they can do their own research.
Yeah, and we've got more blogs coming on each of these features. So yeah, people can take their time reading through, learning how to use these really powerful tools. And hopefully this masterclass has introduced everybody to the tool. Hopefully it's not too overwhelming at first glance, but really I think it's very simple to use, very, very visual, great visualizations of all this relatively complex on-chain data and presenting it in a very simple, legible format. So I'm super excited that we've launched this tool. I think it'll be a great resource for everybody during this period, and hopefully in the bull market too. It'll be a great tool for people to make informed decisions about what they're getting involved with. So really want to say thank you, Kayvon, for showing us how to use Skynet for Community, and look forward to seeing everybody use it and showing us what they can do with it.
All right, thanks everyone.